Hello, and it's not 1 o'clock in the morning, so I told you I'm trying to get these videos out earlier. I was thinking about MAGA, Make America Great Again, and of course the response is, when was America great and for who? Okay, and I hear people say the 1950s. Um, by the way, of course that's white people say that, but black people think the 1950s was better than now too. So Um, I don't think black people would tell you that in public, but I've heard them say it in private conversations or one on one. So let's just say we made MAGA happen. So what would it look like? Well, you'd have to change state budgets. And this is probably why it's not going to happen. You'd have to have, and this is why quote unquote segregation didn't work, which wasn't segregation, but it was an unjust integration, which is what MAGA would be, unjust integration. You'd have to have two sets of school systems, every county, one for blacks, one for whites, because we're talking about 1950s. You'd have to have two sets of public parks. I've seen them try to do something like this in New York. They don't say one's for colored people, but they have a park for the kids in the projects, and then they build an expensive building down the street, and they have their own park. And of course, these children can come over there, but then you're going to get Karens calling the police and harassing. So they're trying to do separate, but in a different way. So you'd have to have different public parks. You'd have to have different nights or different movie theaters. Movie theaters are kind of a past thing, so that ain't really a big deal. You'd have to have separate cars on the trains and the buses, right? Or separate buses. That's what MAGA would mean. That's how it would look, right? Separate hospitals. And by the way, MAGA would probably increase employment in the black community. As weird as that sounds, because then you'd have black teachers teaching black children, and um, there are a lot of black teachers that just got replaced. But some of them got replaced with other blacks from outside of the country. So maybe that's what they mean by MAGA. Maybe Africans from the continent and the Caribbean over black people who've been here from sharecropping days, because that seems to be what they're doing. Um, Maybe that's what they mean. That's going to be their new version. And I guess I don't know what we will do. I guess what we're doing now, just kind of hanging around. We're producing. We're in entertainment. We're in the arts, and we're online producing things. But it mostly we're passing away. So I mean, maybe that's what MAGA looks like. But I mean, on the ground, on a daily basis, MAGA would look like things being separate. So the budgets would be two sets of budgets for every city, every county, every state. That's why MAGA won't happen. It'll never happen because you cannot afford it. You cannot afford MAGA. It's too expensive. Another thing is, in a weird way again, MAGA would force blacks into cohesion and stability, at least emotional and psychological stability to a degree, or at least move us toward that. Nobody wants that in this country. So that's why it's not going to happen. But it was good to think about what MAGA would look like. And look, I don't put it past Trump and his people to try to bring that about. I just don't think it'll happen. But we'll see. We are in an insane asylum. So anything's bound to happen. Talk to you next time. Try to stay sane.